There are new reports of turmoil between Trump and the Republican National Committee. Time reports that RNC Chairman Reince Priebus issued a warning to Trump, saying if the GOP nominee doesn't turn around his campaign in the coming weeks, that he would reallocate funds to the House and Senate races. However, the RNC Communications Director, Sean Spicer, fired back on Twitter, saying the story about Reince Priebus telling Donald Trump to that he will reallocating resources is not true. Twitter speak there. All right, Time political reporter Zeke Miller wrote the story this morning, and he joins us on the phone. So let's talk about this. Tell us what you know. What did you hear?
Good morning. Thanks for having me. What we're reporting is that in a series of phone conversations last week, in the midst of sort of the peak of the turmoil in the Donald Trump campaign, RNC Chairman Reince Priebus told Donald Trump and presented him with the range of options available to his campaign, one of which was if he does not turn around his campaign, the Republican National Committee will face sort of the very real challenge of deciding whether or not to save the Senate or to continue backing Donald Trump, and that that this is the Republican Party, not the Trump Party, and that they would make if they had to make a tough decision, they would do that. That's what our story says. That's not exactly what the RNC is denying. They're denying something that we're not reporting that this decision has been made or that it was a threat or anything like that. It was a presentation of options, a warning that if he did not turn around his campaign, that there would potentially be consequences, and that's what the consequences would be. And it's sort of an interesting moment for the Trump campaign as he's trying to get his campaign back on track after some of the toughest 2.5 weeks in his campaign since the Republican convention. That the party's frustration is boiling over, as well as the same way we've seen many in the establishment Republicans in Washington sort of vent their frustrations publicly.
Yeah, well, certainly, I was talking earlier to Major Garrett about the fact that it seems like after every opportunity to reset, we wind up talking about something other than the candidate's policies. We wind up talking about something that he said that was off script or off message. I'm wondering, what did you hear about how that threat, for lack of a better word, was received by the campaign?
Donald Trump spoke to us. We spoke to him on Tuesday. He denied that there had been any sort of any sort of warning had been transmitted to him. We went back to our senior Republican officials who spoke to us, and they confirmed it, given their direct knowledge of the phone call. Right. So we're very comfortable in our reporting. When we spoke to Mr. Trump on Tuesday, he was kind of ambivalent about whether or not he would need to stay on message versus sort of go back to that freewheeling style thing. In his own mind, thought he was being nicer, being calmer, doing what the Republican National Committee and many others in the Republican Party had been asking him to do for quite some time, and that he wasn't even sure that was the right strategy when voters are feeling frustrated and angry. That he was thinking he may go back in the opposite direction. Many Republicans think he still needs to go quite a bit further in terms of acting more presidential and more nicer and calmer. But in Trump's mind, he seems to think he's already gone about as far as he wants to.
Interesting. And, we brought up Sean Spicer's rebuttal via Twitter. Your reaction to that?
As of now, we stand by our story. Right now it seems the RNC is denying something that is not in our reporting. That they seem to be denying that decision has been made. We make very clear in our reporting that no decision has been made about this. This is one of the menu of potential outcomes presented to Donald Trump, one of which was the very real reality that if this race does come down to a choice between the White House and the Senate, investing more resources in a losing White House bid or potentially saving the Senate, the Republican National Committee, as sort of the overlord of the Republican Party, would act in the best interest of the party, even if that was not always in the best interest of Donald Trump.
All right, Zeke Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.